Start out tonight's broadcast with Delegate Glenn Davis introducing the VCDL on the House floor. So we'll be right back after this quick video plays.
Members of the Virginia Citizens Defense League. Many of you have probably seen them coming through your office, so we have a few of them up in the balcony today. The Virginia Citizens Defense League, otherwise known as the VCDL, was founded in October 1994, first as the Northern Virginia Citizens Defense League, and later becoming the Virginia Citizens Defense League. They've experienced enormous growth in membership and was incorporated as VCDL in 1998. It's a nonprofit, nonpartisan, grassroots organization with a mission to advance the fundamental rights of all Virginians to keep and bear arms as guaranteed by the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, including helping to remove some of the laws that even prevented Dr. King from getting his concealed carry permit after his house was bombed. The VCL believes that the right to a free and to populous and restore our gun rights, you must use the citizens as the most effective lobbyist group, and there's so many citizens here today. With us, we have Phil Van Cleef, Hal Webb, John Pierce, and Bruce Jackson. And I just ask that everyone rise and work. Just please give the members that are here a warm house welcome.
The delegate from Chesapeake,
All right. Well, thank you to Glenn Davis for doing that for us. We appreciate that. Not everybody in the House floor clapped, but it is what it is. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ed Levine, Social Media Director and Board Member on VCDL. And with us tonight, we have President Philip Van Cleef and Secretary and Treasurer Pat Webb with us. So hi, guys.
How are you?
Good.
Hello. Yeah, the non-clappers, I'm sure, consider themselves to be
Yes.
very accepting of others.
Speaking of accepting, folks accepting of others, I want to say one thing, and that was at SHOT Show, I ran into a friend of mine that's vice president at NRA, Willis Lee, and I posted, I said, I'll accept all the help that they will give us for gun rights in Virginia. Some people don't like the NRA anymore. They don't want to be a member. I'll take whatever help they will give us in Virginia. And some people were telling me, well, they're the enemy, whatever. It's like, you think what you want to do, but VCDL has that very narrow focus. If someone's going to help us on gun rights in Virginia, we'll take that help.
Exactly. Yeah, and there are issues sometimes that come up that we do, or it just depends on what the issue is, whether we get involved. The NRA was a situation of that's the thing the NRA needs to work out, and the membership of NRA, of which actually a lot of us are, but our organization is not the NRA. But we're willing to help, willing to take help from them. If they're trying to do something good in Virginia, we'll be there to help them as well. So and we're that way with all the groups, like you say, Ed. We're always looking for allies everywhere we can find them. And speaking of that, some of you may have seen something that basically an issue with Delegate Anderson and the Virginia Constitutional Conservatives. That's an issue on a survey they did. They said Delegate Anderson didn't follow through on one of the questions and one of the things he was asked to do. That's not our concern as VCDL. We worry about our own survey, not other people's survey. So we're sort of neutral on that little kerfuffle that's going on a little bit back and forth there. Just wanted to get that out because I know that's been a question on some people's minds. I've gotten a lot of emails asking what I thought about this situation with between Anderson and the Constitutional Conservatives.
Right.
So we're neutral on that.
And we had a post up there that was explaining that, which we allowed. But then when we found out, or someone wrote to us and said, they're kind of mining for members and mining for we don't mind lively discussion sometime, but we don't like people to ask for donations on our page without working that out with us. So that's why that was removed. And for whatever reason, the software is not letting me put the names of us on the screen. So in case you don't know, I'm Ed. The guy in the black shirt is Philip, and Pat is the beautiful female.
And it's a brown shirt. That's okay. So let's talk a little bit about Lobby Day. Since that was the big event back on Monday, we had the pre-Lobby Day dinner. So the weather kind of put the kibosh on a lot of that, but needless to say, we got the job done. We handed out 104, thanks to our teams, we handed out 140 copies of this. We handed out, and I don't have it with me, a flyer as part of a packet that says, there were 60,000 of us at that rally in 2020, and we're still watching. Our eyes are, all of our eyes are on Richmond as to what happens this year. This particular document, which some of you may have printed out, this one's been updated, covers all the gun bills and VCDL's position on them, whether they're very good, or anti-gun, whatever. It also discusses why we like or don't like some of the bills. We've had a few since Lobby Day that were put in that are now in here. So we have Delegate Anderson has put in a load of bills, and he's probably got a few more yet to come in before, I think Friday is the cutoff day. Friday, I think, is going to be the last day to it might be the request to have a bill drafted, or maybe the last day to have a bill introduced. That I'm not sure of right now, but it's a major day. If it doesn't close out, the bills coming in, it will be closing out very, very shortly. So then there will be no more bills. We'll have it locked down. We'll know exactly what we're going to be dealing with. Delegate Anderson put in a series of bills, and now not all of these have you seen a VA alert on. You guys participated, 8,000 of you sent in some emails to legislators on some of the key bills that have been introduced that we put at the kind of higher up on our list. But there are a lot of bills that deal with subjects that we support, but weren't as high up as that initial emailing we had to do. So you'll be doing more emailing, and it's important that you keep watching your alerts and are prepared like Minutemen to get out and do this stuff quickly when we need you to do it. I'm kind of watching the bills that will be coming up in committee, and we'll probably go after those bills once they show up going into a committee. If they don't show up, then we'll wait until they do. And of course, there's always a possibility of what's called a pocket veto, where a bill never makes it to committee. In essence, the speaker or the committee chair decides not to hear the bill. So one of the things that Delegate Anderson did is he put in a couple bills, HB 10 and HB 14, or sorry, HB 10 and let's talk about HB 10. HB 10 would basically remove all the fees for getting a concealed handgun permit. It would make it free. And since we shouldn't have to, it's a right, and we're going through a background check and training and all that just to put on a coat so we can carry a gun with a coat on, it doesn't seem fair that we have to pay for that. The state should cover that. It shouldn't even be making us do it in the first place. But if it's making us do it, then it needs to be free. And of course, obviously the goal, and we'll talk about this in a minute, this bill for this, is constitutional carry, where you don't need anything. If you can open carry a gun, you can conceal carry it. But Delegate Anderson's bill is somewhere in between, where it's basically saying no fees. He put in HB 11, which is reduces carrying a concealed handgun without a permit down to a civil penalty of $100 the first time you're caught. And I think the idea there is, especially where they found somebody carrying concealed that didn't really realize that they had to have a permit to do it, or didn't realize how they were carrying the gun was considered concealed. It could be a situation where you've got it tucked in your pants and you think it's perfectly visible, but your shirt may have come a little untucked or whatever, and it was kind of mostly covered up. In which case, you don't get you're not charged with a crime. You're merely, it's kind of like a traffic. You're merely charged with a civil penalty. The second time, that elevates to a class 2 misdemeanor, and the third time and after that, it goes to a class 1. Now, there's a provision in here that says if you get a valid permit in the meantime, the judge can waive or eliminate or dismiss those charges. So it's encouraging you, if you inadvertently get caught carrying without a permit, to get that permit without making you this horrible criminal, because a lot of the people that are caught with this aren't really doing anything wrong other than they're carrying a gun in not the perfect way the state wants you to carry it. So that's a good bill. Delegate Anderson also, the reason I'm starting with Anderson is I'm doing these in order that these bills were brought out. And he came out swinging on these. HB 14, the other one was HB 11 on reducing the penalty for carrying concealed without a permit. 14 repeals one handgun a month. So that's a good bill. We don't need one handgun a month. It's never worked. This has been political from day one, and so we're going to try to get rid of it. It does not serve a good purpose other than to barely get in the way of good people trying to buy more than one gun at a time.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt you?
Hey, Philip? Yes.
Can we jump to
Sure.
Marie March's red flag bill, because I know she's got limited time, and she just joined us in the green room, and I'm gonna bring her on board real quick.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Good evening, Marie. Well, thanks for joining us. I know you have some tight time, so we wanted to bring you on and talk about your red flag bill.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me tonight. I'm starting to lose my voice. I have talked so much in the last 2 weeks. So I don't know. Just, let me know what would you like me to talk about? Red flag? Well, we've got a red flag bill coming up.
Well, tell us a little bit about. Yeah, tell us a little bit about your gun bill. So red flag, and your other bills that you got going that we've got on our list.
So we've got some really good ones.
You've got the prosecutors.
Yeah, malicious prosecution. That's another good one. Yeah, we've put in a bill, and I don't have my bill numbers in front of me right now. I've put in, I think, like 17 to 20 bills. So I'm sorry that I don't recall what the bill number is. But yeah, that's kind of an interesting one that we submitted for. It's kind of like,
515.
Is it HB 505? Yeah, so that is to go after
515.
515. Yeah, that's to go after malicious prosecutors. So I don't have the language in front of me. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not really prepared for tonight because I've been in meeting after meeting. But yeah, it's kind of. I mean, this is a bill that is sort of. We're kind of calling it the Kyle Rittenhouse bill. If you have there's prosecutors across the country, that target people that have self-defended. They have, absolutely cut and dry self-defense cases. They go after these people to try to, put them in jail for the rest of their lives. So this is a bill that opens the door for recourse for the families to be able to sue the prosecutor for these situations. So, we hope we can get some traction with it. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's carried a bill such as this. Philip, do you know if anybody's carried a bill like this yet?
No. Kind of brought this whole concept to light, although it's always been out there. And a lot of gun owners rightly fear such a thing, where you have legitimately defended your life, and then somebody who doesn't like guns or doesn't like you for some reason, who's got the power to do so, can make your life miserable and can destroy your life. And that's always a fear, especially with Soros buying prosecutors.
That's exactly right. And so we've got to open the door. And, honestly, if we can even get a toehold with a bill like this, I mean, this could really this could go a long way. It could really lead to some tort reform. I really hope we can get some traction with it. I don't know that we can, but I'm going to try really hard. So, that's one of the more interesting
All
bills.
right.
We have a full repeal of 2295, which is where they stripped all of our rights to carry on the Capitol grounds. So, me personally, I think I told this story when I had a podcast with you, Philip. I now live in Richmond. I'm having to walk back and forth to the Capitol and to the Pocahontas building, and we're not allowed to carry a gun. I'm a lawfully abiding citizen. I'm a concealed carry permit holder, and I'm not legally allowed to carry a gun. And, I've even had a few people say, I've talked to some of the Democrat lawmakers, and they're like, well, at least the legislators should be able to carry. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that's horrible. No, everyone needs to be able to carry. If you're a lawfully abiding citizen and you're a concealed carry holder, or even if you're not a concealed carry holder, we all have our Second Amendment right. And there's some other bills out there. They've done kind of renditions on this bill, to only allow, the police departments to carry and law enforcement. But that doesn't help me as a female. I mean, I feel like I could very well be victimized. Yeah. So, I'm going to fight for this bill.
And why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised the Democrats said, oh, well, but we should be exempt?
Philip, they're special.
That type of hypocrisy, and that's what that is. That's yes, we get to do it. You guys, whatever. Yeah, no, and that doesn't fly. And thank you for standing up and saying, oh, hell no to that.
Party.
That's the kind of thing we are always on the lookout.
I had a Democrat lawmaker walk up to me in the hallway. We had this gun argument. And she said, well, I think it would be fine if it was just us that could carry. And I just looked at her like, you need to say that in front of all of your constituents, nice and loud. Because this elitist attitude, we can't stand for that. And I just get into politics to let that slip by.
And I'm sorry, what was her name again?
No.
Do you know, in all reality, as much as I would drop, she had on almost a full face covering, and I know what she looks like, but I don't even know her name. I'm meeting so many new people right now, but I know what she looks like. I can point her out to you next time you guys come over to the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and
so we could talk. Okay, so that was.
Yep. The other gun bill that I'm carrying is repealing.
That'll let us carry in the General Assembly.
All right. Well, I know you're short on time. Is there anything else we want to discuss before we let you go back to it?
I mean, we need to make sure our constituents know what's going on, and if we can get that 2295 repealed and get our rights back, I was telling Philip we need to make next year a really big, really great lobby day.
Yeah, everybody be able to carry. Then we'll be back to where we need to be, where we should be. This should never, ever have been taken away from us. And the other thing you didn't have a chance to talk about, I think there may be a time lag between when I'm talking, when you're talking, and I'm not coming through right away. If you have time, just briefly, 509 is your repeal the red flag bill. While Virginia's red flag is probably the least egregious in the United States, it still needs to go. And if you want to speak on that, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just starting to work on my talking points. I'm not real great with speaking. I will be here in about a week when I present this bill. But red flag is a complete violation of due process. It violates almost half of our Bill of Rights. When you really start looking at the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, I think it goes on because our due process rights are mentioned in several of our amendments. It's bad. It's anti-American. Basically, you can go and, take out one of your grudges on one of your neighbors by calling them their firearms seized for thought crime. The person doesn't even, it doesn't go before the courts. it's bad. It's so bad, and I really can't believe we've gotten to this point in America. That citizenry is willing to allow this to go on. And it's just a real shame. Sorry, I don't have more specifics. Philip, you know an
Well,
awful lot about it. You're welcome to talk about it.
well, yeah. The thing about this is that you don't get your day in court for 2 weeks, and you don't even know that there's a problem. Till there's a knock on your door. You're sitting there having a normal day, and there's a knock on your door, and we need to have your guns. They can't come in with a search warrant and get them initially. They simply ask you to turn them over and then wait for them. But it's just, but this is about taking guns. If they wanted, because it gets no help for the person that's got if they're indeed you're having a mental crisis, red flag gets you no help. A temporary detention order, which we've had for years, will get you help. And I think what's happening is the sheriffs aren't using this for the purpose that, as a red flag. They're still using the temporary detention order. So this thing has got no place in it, and it needs to go. And I'm glad you put in the bill. And we'll certainly get behind it and push.
And there really
Are you
should be.
expecting any other bills?
I want to say partisan support for our due process. That. So I'm going to go into it with in hopes that once we that we explain that even the Democrats will understand, who wants to live in a due process, because biases, discrimination, judgmentalness, that can all be weaponized. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. So I'm hoping I can get that point across so they understand, instead of getting triggered with the words red flag, they can understand this can be really weaponized. So, and it can be against all kinds of people. So we've got to get rid of that. Our forefathers figured it all out when they made the Constitution.
Yeah, this is about taking guns. And for those that might not be about taking, there might be some out there that think they're doing a good thing. And to them, I would say the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yes.
And this is certainly paving the way in that direction.
That's very true.
Do you have any other bills that you are going to be? Do you have any bills you're going to be dropping?
So I don't have any. There's nothing else that's a gun bill. I've got a drug testing for unemployment benefits bill that's coming out. I've got lots of bills. My bills are kind of all over the place. I've got some small business bills. In my town, the merchants, across Virginia, all of the merchants are actually paying taxes on top of they're paying credit card fees on top of the sales tax that they collect. So for all the sales tax they collect and harvest, they're having to pay the credit card fees. So we've got to make sure that, we start getting compensated back, or we're at least exempt from paying those credit card fees to collect the state sales tax. So there's a lot of little bills like that I've squeaked through there that, hoping we'll get them, approved. So, but my hard-hitting bills are going to be red flag, repealing the right to carry on Capitol grounds, and, all around. And, the malicious prosecution. Yeah, that's going to be a big one. So hopefully I'm better well-versed and I can argue the points. I haven't practiced, but I'm trying some bills put in.
Hey, Marie, people are asking where they can sign your red flag petition and find, what's your website and stuff like that?
Yeah. So, mariemarch.com. But also, I believe it's the Virginia Constitutional Conservatives. They're the ones that helped me to write the red flag repeal. So it's probably on their Facebook page. Okay. And I know there's drama going on right now, too. Apparently, Tim Anderson wouldn't co-patron the bill, and there's some hoopla going on with that. So, it's always, the sparks are already flying over in the General Assembly.
That is the first time that everybody didn't agree.
Right, sure.
And just to be clear, so you're 7th District, 7th House District, Orange, Culpeper, Louisa, Amelia, Powhatan. No,
Nope. Nope.
I got it wrong. My
Yep.
Google's broken.
Yep. I'm Floyd County, Pulaski County, and Christiansburg over in Montgomery County.
Yeah,
I
Yep.
got
way,
you. I'm sorry.
way
And what
west.
And
district?
in Tim Anderson's defense, he walked up to me today and he said, "Marie, I'm voting for your damn bill." He said, "I'm just not going to co-patron it." So
Yeah, well, not to get in the middle of this, but just to educate everybody. Just because somebody co-patrons the bill doesn't mean anything. What matters is the vote. I remember one year when we were trying to repeal the ban on carrying in restaurants, and I had a bunch of people in the committee, all as co-patrons on that bill. And when the bill came up in committee, half of them voted against the bill they co-patroned. So the co-patroning didn't make a difference at all. All that mattered was the vote. So we don't even bother with co-patrons. We used to. We used to go around and get co-patrons on all the gun bills we liked. Later on, we learned that it's not necessary. It's just necessary to make sure everybody votes on it when it comes up.
that's right.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I've been having to drink water and coffee too. And nowadays, if you cough at all, everybody panics. Oh my God,
Everybody
COVID.
thinks
Well, everywhere where I'm at, I've been wearing my mask,
You can't even blow your nose.
and I'm wearing it like this, and people keep telling me, "Can you please pull up your mask, sir?" And I'm like, "You really want me to?" And I go like this. And oh wait, I didn't know that was your mask.
I'm choking to death.
Okay,
But yeah,
thank you, Maria.
Okay.
Appreciate
All right.
you joining
Thanks
us.
for joining us.
yes. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That's a wicked mask.
Well, I'm glad there was
Good.
like I can't join you, then I can, and then I can't, and I'm slammed, and she's like, I can give you 10 minutes. So I was like, great, we'll take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's tough. They put in some
Yeah,
really long
and we
hours,
have a wonderful
doing some
group
this
of
stuff.
freshman delegates this year. There's quite a few that I'm looking forward to
do.
hearing good things from.
Yeah, and 10 years ago, when I knew some friends that were freshman delegates, I'm like, why don't you put in this and put in this and put this? They're like, oh, leadership would never allow me to do that. And now it's like everybody's just if they want to put something in, they're putting it in.
Mm-hmm.
But I've known the speaker for many years.
Yeah, me too. Shout out Todd Gilbert. Thank you.
Yeah. He's got a really good grasp on liberty and freedom. Hopefully that's there and nice and strong. He actually voted. There was a bill that was in one time that would have allowed Commonwealth attorneys and assistant Commonwealth attorneys to not have to, I think, to carry without needing a permit. And he was a Commonwealth attorney or assistant Commonwealth attorney, and he voted against it. It was something that would have benefited him, but he said it isn't right. I shouldn't get this benefit any more than the citizen should have. So he's got a good head on him about that kind of stuff. So I got my fingers crossed things will be good that way. Delegate Walker out from Lynchburg area put in a ban to repeal the good and sufficient reason in churches to carry a gun or a weapon. It just takes it away. So, and the argument on that is simple. Where does the government come off telling private business or a private organization how to do security? I mean, in what world does that make sense?
Well,
of course, they've done it
too
for
stupid
private
to
schools
think for
forever.
themselves.
I think so. Yeah, apparently. But I think private schools need to have that lifted off of them too. Let them do what they want.
That would be a reason that a lot of people want their kid in private school.
Yes, absolutely. The school can have great policies on security. Absolutely. And I think that's definitely should be on our agenda to get that off of state law for schools that don't want it. Maybe give them an opt-out. If you're a private school, you can opt out of this. If you do, you set your own rules completely.
Hey, on the social media front, a lot of questions that we always get are there any senators that might vote Republican so that we can actually get some of this stuff done?
Not Republican, but vote
Yeah, I
for
said
our gun rights.
pro
Yes.
gun. I said it wrong.
Hmm.
Listen to what I mean, not what I say.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
will
Talking
we
about
get
the
anybody in
Senate,
the
you
Senate
said, or
to
the
actually
House?
vote for some of our bills?
Yeah, well, we have. We've had there are like 5 senators that over time, last few years, have voted with gun owners
There
on
are a lot
various gun
of
rights issues.
gun owning Democrats that have reached out to us saying, I don't want this, and I want to be able to protect my family too. And if those people just contact their senators and delegates too, that's what will help.
If Democrats would contact Democrats legislators and say, no, I don't take away my gun rights. I don't want to be part of something that makes my life more dangerous. It was something that has a history of racism behind it, control of minorities. Uh, that would help a whole lot. And there are some that would go with it. So we just have to see how this is going to shake out. It's too early to know exactly. Part of it's going to depend on what bills end up in the Senate and what bills are in the Senate. There are some bills in the House that are not in the Senate. So the first step will be to get those bills through the House. Then it'll go to the Senate. So, and I say as these bills progress, I'll be sending out alerts so that we can bring them up on the radar of all the legislators to support the good bills.
Yeah, so when you guys see an alert come
against,
out, especially if it says action item at the top, make sure you click on those links and get your lawmakers written from you and your family members and send it to your friends and everybody else, because we need those numbers to be high to show that these bills are cared about.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see. So, but again, looking at an overview of the rest of these, we have there's bills in here to repeal local gun control, bills that repeal the punishing you if you don't report a stolen gun quickly enough. There's constitutional carry bills. There's bills to remove the authority of school boards to ban guns on their property. I'm talking about the buildings the school board itself uses. There is, let's see here, what else have we got? General categories. A new one that just came out would exempt permit holders from the universal background check. So if you have a concealed handgun permit, you'd be able to do a private gun sale and purchase a gun without going through the universal background check, and that'd be perfectly legal. So, or if you were selling a gun, the point is, if you're selling a gun to somebody that has a permit, that's fine. You can just sell it direct. They don't have a permit, then you still have to go through the universal background checks. You don't need one as a seller, but the buyer is the one that.
Yeah, somebody wrote in and said, "When are we going to fix it so I can give my son a gun?" And I'm like, "You can't. You can now.
You got that? Yes, you can. If it's a pure gift, if you get nothing in return right now, that's been the law, even with universal background checks. You're totally exempted.
Son, I'll give you this gun as long as you cut the grass every day for the next year."
Yeah, I can't do that. That would be getting something in return, in which case then you'd have to go through the universal background check. But if you're giving somebody a gift, you're good. Don't have to worry about that. Let's see. Really, the one about local government making law, that's probably the hardest hitting one. That's at the top of our list. And there's at least 3 or 4 bills from different legislators to do just that, to repeal that. There's a lot of support for that whole issue. Like I say, that's number one, is to fix Arlington and Alexandria and Fairfax City, Fairfax County, and Charlottesville, Roanoke, and all those places that have banned guns. Let's see. So, That's the major pro-gun bills in there. Again, many of them are duplicates and triplicates. We do have one hunting bill. We don't normally do a lot with hunting, but we do support. There's firearms involved in it. We'll get involved. And in this case, Delegate Wyatt put in a bill that allows 22 caliber center fire rifles to be used to hunt deer. And at 100 yards or less, that's perfectly fine. And a lot of states have that. So we stand in support. If anybody doesn't like that, then don't hunt with a 22 center fire and you're in good shape. We have several on the gun control side that were strongly opposing. Senator Edwards put in one that allows off-duty law enforcement to be exempt, and they can carry at the Capitol and in government buildings and all that. It's not that we're anti off-duty or retired police officers, but what he's asking for, we should all have. And if our other bills go through, this won't be a problem. That will then be covered along with the rest of us if we can lift those restrictions completely off and put us back at where we were in 2019. There's a bill again dealing with homemade guns, making them illegal. This one's particularly bad. And again, sometimes these bills are written by people that don't really understand and guns, or at least understand the complicated federal laws and everything around it. But this bill would basically make any unserialized 80% receiver illegal. There's a couple of bills that basically do that same thing. Then there's one that would affect hunting and also affect somebody, would basically make it very difficult for somebody, for family, somebody under 18. If there's somebody in the house under 18, then the gun has to be locked up, unloaded in a safe, and it's got provisions if you're carrying.
There's been plenty of people under 18 years old that have saved themselves along with their brothers and sisters and stuff from bad guys that have broke into their house.
Or even save their parents. There's been cases where an abusive ex has broken back into the house and the under 18 person has used a firearm to save their mother. So
yeah, was being beat to death. I remember, some of those cases. One was in North Carolina a few years ago. So, and this would make it difficult to hunt because unless you're right there, the gun would in theory have to be locked up and encased. And also, the way they're putting this means that you couldn't have even a gun safe by your bed that had a loaded handgun in it, where you just reach over and you punch a code and there's your gun, you grab it in an emergency. They want it unloaded in that safe. That's that. Now you're starting to sound like Washington D.C. Pre-D.C. versus Heller. So that's ridiculous. It didn't pass constitutional.
And of course, at the same time, they're letting people with life sentences with no chance of parole out of jail because COVID. So.
Yeah. Let's protect their lives. What the heck with the law abiding. Let's see. So that's kind of the gist of what we have there. So there's a lot of good bills out there. There aren't nearly as many bad bills, or as egregiously bad.
I was going to make mention. I think it's worth noting that the balance of bills has drastically changed this year. There are only 9 bills that we strongly oppose, none that we just oppose. There's 5 that we're neutral on, and there's 29 that we either strongly support or support. There's 1 we support and 28 that we strongly support. So, I mean, that just shows the whole tenure, the climate of the legislative body this year. Now, I mean, there's still time things could change a little bit, but that does speak volumes.
Look, the message has been out there for a while now. I mean, gun owners definitely played a major role in changing the leadership of the General Assembly. And had the Senate been up for grabs, it would probably change that as well. There's only one vote difference right now, one difference in the Senate. So the gun owners, in fact, the newest gun owners that we're seeing out there, the millions of them, millions of new gun owners, are people that don't, that either didn't think people needed guns before, but now have changed their mind. Some of them are women, some of them are minorities. We got a bunch of new Democrats coming on board. All of this stuff, it's all moving in our direction. Now there are people that are blind to that in the General Assembly that are just gun control is something they're convinced works, even though since they implemented their agenda, crime is up over 20% in Virginia. So they did what they wanted, and now we've got higher crime. Here they promise us, oh no, this will lower crime. This will make it safer. This is common sense. Oh yeah, this is common sense, all right. Yeah, it's common sense and it's going to raise our crime rates. So we need to reverse that. They've really got nothing to show that anything they did had any good come of it. And we need to push on that. Oh yeah, and I see a reminder here about the legislative tracking system while we're talking about the General Assembly and so forth. We do have the tracking system up. The URL is in the chat. It's VCDL-LIS.org. That stands for Legislative Information System. VCDL-LIS.org. And from there, that's a beautiful system developed by John Pierce, one of our board members, and a computer guru and a lawyer. Yeah, computer guru and lawyer. Really nice job. But that way, at a glance, you can see exactly what's going on with gun bills.
And you can use the narrative next to each bill, so when you talk to your own lawmakers, that you have a little gist without having to read pages of the bill.
Yeah, we give you the summary and why it's good or why it's bad, and you can do that with the lawmakers. And when a bill changes status, like if a bill is killed in committee, it moves down to a separate area where the dead bills are. And that way, if you look in that area, you say, okay, all these we don't have to worry about. These are all dead and gone. So it's really nice. It's quite a system that we've got. Be sure to use it. That way you know what's coming up. You won't be caught off guard when a bill's going to head to committee. And maybe if you could plan on attending some of these committees when these bills come up. We'll be there putting GSL stickers you can wear. If you want to talk on the bill, great. If you just want to sit there with your GSL sticker and just make your presence known by sitting in the audience.
And it would be wonderful if people showed up like they did in 2019 and 2020 to sit on those committee during the meetings. Just go and watch. You don't have to get up and speak to the bill or anything, but just go wear the orange sticker and watch. And if Philip says everybody that is in favor of or opposed to this bill, stand up, just stand up. And it really does make a difference, especially when we get to the Senate committees. We're going to need all the help we can get to get our bills that we want to pass out of committee.
Yeah, helping, going through the tracker, talking knowledgeably about the different bills, talking to your friends and the delegates committee meetings. Those are all ways that you can help yourself, the gun rights organization, and the VCDL itself. Another way that you can help the organization is I got an email today from Mike Wilbert, who is our gun show coordinator, and he says that they don't have anybody set to volunteer for the Sunday, January 30th gun show in Fisherville. They need Sunday volunteers, and they got different shifts available, and also they're going to need help in February 25th and 27th at the Western Virginia Sports Show. So if you have any interest in helping out at those or any of the other shows, certainly give us a call or write into the email. For the particular Fisherville shows, you can contact Gim Kaiser, and the email address, which I'll put in the chat, is gunshows.vawest@vcdl.org. And I'll put that in the chat, but I just want to make mention of that for Mike.
Part of the state wants to be in a a co-coordinator, an assistant coordinator for gun shows. There aren't a lot of events out there, but there are some, and it's a long throw for our people that are saying Roanoke or whatever to come out there. It'd be great if we could find somebody who would step up to be a co-coordinator for the gun shows or other events that might show up there to make it easier for us to get some coverage in that part of the state. We're trying to have a presence in as much of the state as possible to keep getting the word out.
I was talking to some of the gun show coordinators today, and they are the boots on the ground, so to speak. They are our main way of reaching people that are interested in firearms and have not heard of VCDL. And not only do we do gun shows, but we do community events, like if you have a fair in your community, national night out. We have booths set up at a lot of the different national night out things. And just all sorts of even craft fairs. In my neighborhood, they've done wine festivals, beer festivals, the Heritage Day.
The non-gun shows are actually some of my favorite to work, because you just have families walk up to you that had no idea that we existed and what we're fighting for, whatever. We're kind of at everybody at the gun show that's kind of already on our side a little bit. And it's, you start talking to them, but when you get the people that out there that are like, oh, I didn't know I could carry, I didn't know how I could get one, I didn't know what license I need, and you just got a lot deeper of an education to people that you talk to. So Rich has a question for us, Philip. The state senator has no interest in anything to do with guns. He never answers any emails or calls. After getting zero response from this guy, is it worth it to even keep trying?
The answer is yes, absolutely. You want him to know that there are, and we'll keep reminding him, there's people in his district that he's not representing. And it's not just that we have some interesting little issue. This is a constitutional issue. This is something right there in Article 1, Section 13, and it's a powerful statement in Virginia. Article 1, Section 13 is clear. So yeah, don't let them get away with this where they can kind of shove you aside. Then they don't hear from you anymore, and they
even recruit some of your friends and family member from the same area, so they get more than just your email, and that number starts to grow.
And make an appointment to see him, and even go with a few of your friends and neighbors down and actually make an appointment and go have a face-to-face with them. That's really hard to ignore.
Yeah. It is. The face-to-face kind of changes things quite a bit right there.
Hey, XYZ News, I go to talk to my senator and delegate, and I've emailed him and I've called him and set up an appointment, and he actually won't see me. Isn't that newsworthy?
Absolutely. Write a letter to the editor and call your local news station and let them know that has to affect their re-election chances for sure. They're there to represent people. They're there to represent you and all of the other people in their district. And they also, I've heard before, well, you're not a constituent, so why should I care? Well, your vote affects me. If I live in the state and you're in the state legislature, your vote affects me. So yes, you do need to listen to me as well.
Right, and we're a constitutional republic. There are certain things that they shouldn't be doing, and gun control is one of them. It doesn't matter how many. For example, it wouldn't matter if every constituent called him and said that we should enslave Latinos. It wouldn't matter. The Constitution is protecting them. And so in that sense, they should not be touching gun control, and it doesn't hurt to keep reminding them of that. That they swore an oath to defend the Constitution.
A couple of things to point out here. One, Vincent Smith, one of our members, did a very good video that's on the VCDL YouTube channel about talking to your local governments, but it also applies to state governments and any representative. But the other thing is, when you talk to these people, if you can find some common ground and find something that you can agree on and get to know them a little bit and become a person to them and they're a person to you, it makes it easier to talk about things that you may disagree on. And it makes it harder for them to just blow you off as, oh, that crazy gun nut, because now they realize you're a real person. You have real feelings, real needs, and real concerns. The other thing is if you can relate some sort of a personal experience where maybe you needed to use a gun, maybe self-defense, maybe to save your livestock from a predator or something like that. Any legitimate purpose like that you can share with them that puts that human side on it and legitimizes the use of the object that they are trying to demonize, it makes it harder for them to go against the Constitution.
And one of the videos that Vince Smith put together that Pat was talking about is in the chat right there. Just good way to get involved and how to learn how to talk to your reps. Mm-hmm. So thanks to Vince for that too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and of course, or delegate or senator about other things besides guns, as Pat suggested.
Uh-huh. They should know your name.
But you know, those of you that have a senator that doesn't vote your way, you're not all alone. I've got one.
And that doesn't mean you should stop contacting them. Keep the pressure on. They need to know that there's opposition out there. If they're staunch gun control, like Saslaw, for instance, you know, just because we know he's never, ever, ever going to vote our way does not mean we should ever stop contacting him. He needs to know that he's not,
right,
that not everybody agrees with his point of view.
And sometimes, you know, maybe at some point you may plant a seed in somebody where they may moderate in one thing. Maybe they won't moderate on everything. Maybe they won't suddenly become a gun supporter, but they might moderate if you make them think about something from an angle they just hadn't thought about. I know there's a lot of people out there, if you can give them a seed of reason in what you're doing, if you can get in their heads this is logical or makes perfect sense, or that what's going on now doesn't make sense and they should repeal it.
Yeah, my senator doesn't vote pro-gun, but I've talked to her a number of times and said, look, even before you vote, if you want to just discuss it so you're at least educated on it, I can be your liaison or explain to you why. And maybe one day she'll change.
Or maybe you'll get one issue through. I mean, you never know. I've seen it happen. So it can happen. It may take a little work, and it certainly
but she certainly knows who I am.
A lot of times that happens. Yes. But we've got some things going for us, guys. Number one, we've got redistricting coming up. And some of that is going to be very, very interesting. So I'll be out of the district of the senator I have now. And so maybe I can get somebody that's that is much better, hopefully.
Oh, and by the way, that redistricting means that we may very well have another House of Delegates election this coming year. And the VCDL PAC, if you can spare a couple of bucks to send to the VCDL PAC, they will have a lot of work to do on the next election cycle. So
how would someone do that, Pat?
They would go to vcdl.org/donate and click on the button to donate to the PAC.
Thank you. I just forget.
Mm-hmm. And and indeed, if that election doesn't happen this year, there absolutely is going to be elections for sure next year. So we're just playing it by ear as these things happen. But the elections are critical, and we've seen that we can make that difference, and that we can turn the ship around. So we've got the ship turned quite a bit right now. So we're in decent shape. We just need to be patient and see if we can get a few of these bills through. Redistricting, like I was saying before, could change a few people's attitudes that are maybe going to be in a more pro-gun district, where they might reconsider a little bit how anti-gun they've been.
Philip, you want to talk a little bit about some people that may think that since the elections last November went pretty well, that we're in good shape and we don't have to work as hard?
Yeah, then there certainly is a lot of that out there. Well, I did my part. I got a lot of Republicans that are pro-gun elected. But no, I wish it worked that way. I wish it was that simple. It is not that simple, and you're fooling yourself, I would say dangerously, in believing that you're done. You will never be done with protecting your rights. I'm trying to think of a good analogy. I mean, if you've got something, there's always going to be somebody that's going to want to take it away from you. And that's the same thing with your rights. There will always be that hawk circling over you, or the buzzard, or the whatever, foxes and coyotes. There's going to be there's all these things lurking that are willing to take away what you have, and you cannot turn a blind eye to it. I mean, you can, but it's foolish. Then you're going to wake up and we'll be back in 2020 again. I don't want to go there again. I've done 2020 once. I don't want to do it again. You got to stay active.
The other thing is that when you're in a favorable position, it's time to work hard to get things done. I mean, just take a look at the Democrat handbook. When they got the majority in the House and the Senate, and they had a Democrat governor and lieutenant governor, what did they do? Did they sit back and relax? No. They pushed through some of the most horrendous gun control bills, and I mean tons of them. They worked extra hard to get things through, and that's why we're where we are today with one handgun a month and universal background checks and red flag laws and all of that. Now, we pushed back hard so they didn't get a lot of the really bad bills through, but they got a lot done because they were in a favorable situation. And that's what we have to do. When we find ourselves even in the slightest favorable situation, we have to really push hard to get those bills repealed and better bills passed.
Somebody gave an analogy of this situation. They said for some people, it's like being in a raging river where you're trying to go upstream to a lake. And while you're in this raging river, which would be the equivalent of being, where we were in 2020 and 2021, you're paddling like mad, fighting and kicking and pushing and paddling, and you're moving very slowly because you're going up the river. You're going uphill, you're fighting the rapids, and you're getting up there. But what happens is then we finally fight and get to the lake, and then some people say, okay, we're done. No, this is when you can really paddle and really move, because now you're not battling the river anymore. Now things are finally in a mode where we can make some forward movements and move quickly and move hard. That's when you really want to push. If you give up, then you're
that's a funny analogy. I heard you're the third monkey trying to get on the ark and it's starting to rain.
So anyhow, that's but yeah, we've got just accept it, and be sure you tell your friends the same thing. Don't let complacency get out there. You can't be. It's the one thing you've got to do as an American besides pay taxes and besides dying. You really need to be active in politics unless you want to become Venezuela. If you're okay with Venezuela,
and that's a great analogy for people saying something like this would never happen in my time.
Yes, I can remember just a few years ago people saying Virginia will never see that kind of gun control. And yet, and here we are.
Not that fast, certainly. Boy, yeah. Yeah, that's right. So anyhow, but we're seeing that we just cannot afford it. And I think the people that are getting in here right now are probably not the problem. I think these people are obviously active, obviously engaged. But it's a lot of people you guys know out there. You need to be talking to friends and family. I talked, frustratingly, the weekend before. I think it was Saturday before Lobby Day. I talked to somebody at the gun range I go to, and he says, "Well, I don't know. My wife wants us to go to that, but I just hate being disarmed."
I do
and
too.
I just hate it. And I told him, well, I said, yeah, what do you think Pat and I and the people that are going to show up feel? None of us like it. But that's the hand we've been dealt. We have to play it. If we don't play it, somebody will play it
If
for
we
us, and we're
just
not going to
quit
like how
going,
that's
they
going to turn
won.
out. So,
Philip, will you carry this for me?
yes. So we can't.
It's water. Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, the water. Yeah, carry your water. Yeah, no, you can carry. Yeah, yeah. And indeed, that's kind of what the expectation was. Is that, well, I'm not going to go because I can't be disarmed. So you're letting somebody else go and be disarmed for you.
Yep.
That's not right. It's just not right.
So
Just keep your ears open out there, guys, for people saying things like that. Try to reason
motivate
with them, get them to understand
Yeah.
that it's their country. Motivate them, get them
Yep.
to understand and really think this through. This is a war, and a war
Yeah.
is not convenient. You have to do things in war that you would normally never do.
When you're in a
and
war,
never
when you
want
win
to
a
do.
battle, you don't quit.
But
you keep fighting. You keep pushing forward.
yeah,
And Abe Windsor said all it took was one election to dive into Hades. Well, yeah, we're only ever one election away from major gun control. But we're also only ever one election
he's
away
right. Yeah,
from major successes also. So just keep that in mind.
It takes everybody working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. But we just don't. We really need people to be engaged, especially all the time, especially this year. Like I say, we've still got the Senate that isn't on our side. That we need to get some people over. We can do it.
Yep.
I think if we try hard enough. Will all of our bills pass? Oh no, they never do. But if we can get our major bills through, that will be a good achievement.
Keep watching
Maybe
those VA alerts for the action items, and get your friends to sign up as well. Because when those bills come to committee in the Senate, we will be sending out alerts asking you to contact the people on the committee and to show up for committee meetings.
I was just looking at some of the comments.
Yeah, I've been kind of watching them. There's nothing really that we haven't covered. And we're coming up on our 9 o'clock hour, so unless we have anything that
the witching hour. James, I guess there was a discussion here going on about the how the terrorist attack in Texas should be enough for the repealing the church ban. Oh yes, I almost forgot. Yeah, there was one other bill that's a very important one that was put in. Delegate Cherry put in a bill that removes the preschool and the child day center from being schools as far as gun carry goes. It goes back to where they were in 2019
where it just is K through 12.
2019, where where these are things that a parent can legally have a gun and carry at. So could a teacher and so forth to protect those children. But the issue about it is it affects churches big time, because churches, I think almost overwhelmingly, synagogues, churches, mosques, all those, they all tend to have daycare while the parents are in church, or they have preschool so the kids can be learning.
We talked about that Monday too, like even businesses that had a daycare.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And the problem is, where do you draw the line? Where is the school boundaries? And where is the church boundaries, or where is the business boundaries? Where is the school zone? Is part of the parking lot a school zone? So that is a real problem. And you could be charged with a felony if you get it wrong. The only thing that saving grace would be that there is something in the law that says you have to knowingly be on school property. And if nobody can say where the school begins and ends, then that means you probably weren't knowingly there, because nobody knows. But it's a mess. This is not something, there was a reason that wasn't in there before. And there's a reason that we need to get rid of it again. So that's a very important bill. That will greatly help our churches. So if we repeal, that's more important than repealing the church ban. Because the church ban, at least we have an attorney general's opinion that says you can carry in a church as long as it's for self-defense. It'd be good to get rid of that, so we don't need any of that. It's all baloney. But it's more important to get rid of this other ban because that now you're talking a felony and
Right.
And just nobody knowing.
And even
even
if you
just go through
do,
security.
if you're charged and you are found innocent because you didn't know you were on a school grounds, you still had to go through all of the court process and the expense of an attorney and taking time off of work and everything else. So it is a major factor.
Yeah, and sometimes the arrest itself is the punishment. Going to being held in jail and all that goes with it, and posting bond and all that. That's all. It's a nightmare. There's no point in going through that. Let's see. We had Brad Burke. How much lead time can one expect with these committee meetings traveling from Nova? It really depends very much on the committee. For example, the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, they hear a lot of bills, and often they don't have a gun bill date. Sometimes they do. They did under the Republicans before, where they just heard gun bills, but often that's not how they do it. And in that case, you're sitting there through other bills, and you wait until they get to the gun bills. So you could spend
on lead time though.
There,
the docket is posted usually at least a day ahead of time. So the committees are on a schedule, and we do have notice as a general rule. Now, the Senate committees that are run by Democrats, they don't always play by the rules, and sometimes they've tacked gun bills in when they weren't on the docket to start with, and we had very little notice that a bill was being heard, but most of the time, the docket is posted at least a day ahead of time. So you would have some notice to be able to make arrangements to get there if that's what you're asking. So I think that was the gist, since he said he was traveling from Northern Virginia. But yeah.
Yeah, well, he might have been asking, am I going to drive down there for 5 minutes?
The other thing is you don't know how long the committees are going to last, how long they're going to spend on each bill. Are they going to actually take them in order? Are they going to pass by a bunch of them? So you have to be there when the meeting starts, and it can go for an hour. It can go for 4 hours. It just depends.
Yeah, some of them, it depends on the time. Like the morning committees are limited. They have to end at a certain time. For example, the Judiciary, they meet twice a week. I think it's Mondays they meet something like 8 in the morning or something. But they have to wrap by 11 because they have to go to what they call caucus, and then they got to go to the floor. So they can't just drag on forever and ever. But on Wednesdays, they have an afternoon meeting, and that could drag on into the night if it had to. Sometimes it's not too bad, but the Judiciary carries a lot of bills. But that's the key committee. That is the key committee for us, is the Judiciary. That's where our major bills are going to go. And on the House side, they will go to a subcommittee it's a subcommittee of the public safety main committee, and that's a committee, I believe it's going to be dedicated to guns. So there'll be bills in there, and that will just be gun bills, one after the other after the other. And if the bills die in subcommittee, they won't be an issue in committee. So we wouldn't have to show up to fight the same bill twice. If it passes, then it goes to committee, in which case we would probably want to be there to show support so that the full committee passes it as well, because the full committee could kill a bill that was passed out of subcommittee. So, but once we're through with the committees, then there isn't much else we can do other than talk to our legislators. Once it gets to the floor, we have no way of communicating at that point. We just have to sit there and let what happens on the floor happen. We can observe it, but we can't influence. We can't talk to anybody. Let's see.
Anything else?
I don't see any more questions that need answering. And we're 10 after 9 now, so
this video will also be on our YouTube channel. Yeah. So make sure you share it with others and share it on your own social media so that people can listen to it at their leisure or on their way to and from work so they stay as informed as you are.
Yep, you can listen to it and don't have to see our smiling faces, but of course it's more fun when you can see us, right?
Pat, do you see that question from Brad?
Yes, I can get you the link for that. Hang on 1 second, I'll find it for you.
While Pat pulls up that link, anybody else in chat still have a question that we did not answer?
Okay. This is not a touch screen. Okay, I'm putting up the link to the legislative information system, and that should take you to this meeting schedule for the 2022 session, and it will update daily. So you can go back to that link repeatedly and get the current schedule. Right.
And by the way, and I have to ask John Pierce this, I'm not sure. Our legislative bill tracker updates every hour on the hour.
Yes.
So that way, if the bill changes status once an hour, it'll update any of the statuses. I don't know if it does.
If you click on the link to the committee in the legislative tracker, it should go to the meeting. But let me double check that real quick. LIS.org. So let's see. Committee referral pending. Here's one. Senate referred to the committee. Yes, it goes to the committee page. And then you can look, you click on the dockets and it'll show the meeting dates, and you click on the meeting date and it will take you to the docket for that particular meeting, and you can see if the bill is in there.
And to answer DC Brian, the gut feeling is we've done it before, and we expect it to happen again.
Yeah, a lot of work has to be done on this to find get support for these bills, but we're going to give it a hard push. We've done it before, as Ed said. And I feel pretty
none of us have a working crystal ball, unfortunately. But I will tell you this. When VCDL was formed, they formed to get shall issue passed. And back then it was a may issue state, so that if you wanted a concealed carry permit, you had to go before a judge and beg permission to be able to carry a concealed weapon, and you had to pay whatever fee that jurisdiction wanted. And then VCDL got the concealed handgun permit shall issue law passed, and it said that if you qualified, if you met the codified requirements and you applied, then they had to issue you the permit, and they couldn't charge you more than $50, and they had to issue it in a certain length of time. So they couldn't just drag their feet and deny you by not making a decision. Everybody told VCDL that that was impossible, that it wouldn't get through, and they got it through. Then there was a part of the law that said you couldn't carry in a restaurant that served alcohol. And VCDL pushed and pushed to repeal the restaurant ban. And everybody said, you're not going to be able.
She probably said her internet and probably Beaver Dam is on a timer, and once she's over an hour, they probably turn it off.
Yeah, she was just going to say we were told that that wasn't going to happen. We got that done. That did take a while, but and a part of the reason it did was people could open carry in restaurants, so it took some of the pressure off. And people got used to open carrying, so that really kind of backfired
Right.
on the gun control crowd. Anyhow, I guess that's it. Pets off. We'll maybe the next one we'll do a little show and tell. I've got a few things I might want to show you guys dealing with self-defense.
Okay.
So let's see, what have we got here? Yeah, and DC Brian is talking about the volunteering for a gun show. If you can do it, do it. It's a lot of fun. And people ask, how can I help? That's all. The first thing I tell them is, help us at a gun show. Get people come up. They really appreciative of the organization. They know they can get answers. So do that. It's a lot of fun. Give it a shot if you've never done it. So we'll do this again the third Thursday of February. What's the date on it? Yeah.
Yep, I got it right here. It is.
Am I going to be 69 or 70 when we do it? I'll be 69 still. Okay.
Let's see. I want to show one more thing. Let me just show this real quick. So this is a lot of people. Like, you didn't have a lot of people at. They're like, you didn't have a lot of people at Lobby Day. Welcome back, Pat. And what I like to show people is this flyer that we had. All eyes are on Virginia. Those 60,000 people that showed here are still watching what you do.
Yep.
So if we have a snowstorm and they can't carry, and people think, oh, VCDL only had 500 people come this Lobby Day. Well, the other 59,500 are still watching. All right, Pat,
absolutely.
Sorry,
exactly. And by the way, as I said in an alert,
we were just saying our good nights.
We were by far still the biggest here the turnout we normally did.
Absolutely.
We still dominated.
I did not see one demanding mom there.
No gun controllers. Zero. Nothing.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Good night, everyone.
Folks. Thanks for everything you guys do. You are the heart of VCDL, and you're the reason that VCDL is so successful. So thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.